Tuesdays, the Louvre is closed. The masterpieces of the most visited museum in the world are enjoying a day off. But Tuesdays aren't a day off for everyone. In every department, works of art are being cleaned, fixed, or packed up for transport. For the 2,000 employees of the Louvre, this might be the busiest day of the week.
It's completely off-center. Let me bring this one in.
Today, a team of employees has the mission of moving a colossal piece of art.
It's stuck.
This gigantic 18th century vase is nearly 2 meters high and weighs half a ton. But above all, it is extremely fragile. Carole Tréton, the curator of the department, is in charge of the operation.
It's called Samir's vase and was named after the bronze smiths who worked on it. It comes from the manufacturer in Sèvres and is made of porcelain and biscuit. There are only 2 of these vases, one in Fontainebleau and one here. The vase is composed of several pieces, a bit like Lego. If the metallic rods on the inside move, the vase could open up and break.
Chief technician Thierry Dieudonné has been working at the Louvre for over 20 years, and he is well versed in these risky maneuvers.
It's made of ceramics and metal, and we don't know the state of the joints on the inside. If there's any friction, the metal won't break, obviously, but the ceramics could crack. We have to work very delicately. See, we'll gently lower this down. We can't feel or hear anything going wrong. That's the most important.
The vase was in storage on this landing. It will now relocate to the Department of the 18th Century Art, where it will be properly showcased for viewers to enjoy.
The bronze work is magnificent. You can see different techniques here. Gilded bronze and patinated bronze. There aren't many like this.
And we're off, carefully.
The Lego vase is about to travel over a kilometer.
You're there to limit any vibrations.
And Carole is never far behind.
Watch out for the floor protections. They slide on the floorboards.
Does this always require this level of attention?
This isn't too bad. We're staying on the same level, so once the staff has secured it on the pallet and it is being maintained there, we should be all right. We don't have any stairs or elevators we need to deal with today.
Some parts are trickier than others. After a 50-minute trip, the convoy reaches its destination with the vase still in one piece. But Carole still needs to determine the best spot for the vase.
What are you checking?
It needs to be centered between the doors. It has to be dead center when you're walking towards it. Slightly to the left. Yes, that's good.
And the job is far from being done. The team must now lift the vase.
Watch out for your head.
And place it back safely onto its base.
Let's go, let's go. We're going to put it back in place. Bring it down. I left my finger underneath.
After some lengthy efforts, it finally finds its place.
We can see it from a different perspective.
The light changes everything.
At least the colors stand out. It has an extra shine from the light. The light will make it stand out and bring out the details. The visitors will better appreciate it, as this is a place many of them transit through on their way from the Egyptian department to the 18th century art section. It feels like we are rediscovering this work of art. Shall we go?
3 times a year, the nearby Department of Decorative Arts receives a very special visit from a team of experts specialized in preventive conservation.
Girls, do you have gloves?
Today, Delphine Elie Lefebvre's team is working on an area dedicated to the late 18th century furniture.
Yes, on him.
Will this be enough for the dusting out there, or?
It's okay.
It's okay? The idea is to watch over these collections and prevent their alteration over time. Every time we enter a room like this one, it comes with a certain amount of stress. Most of these numerous objects are extremely fragile. Over the course of 2 days, we will be processing over 200 objects, so the main risk is breakage. As soon as we're moving an object or just getting near to it, there's a risk.
Voilà.
For Frédéric Dassas, the curator of this collection, this is an opportunity to make an overall assessment of the collection placed in his custody.
Maybe place some gauze here?
Exactly.
Was that already there?
That's the emergency work we did last time. Do you remember?
Yes. These are very fragile collections. Textiles, marquetry, gilded wood. They are all sensitive to light, humidity, and dry conditions. These rooms are dedicated to the late 18th century, just before the Revolution. What makes this part of the collection particularly valuable is the royal furniture. Louis XVI used this desk. This chest of drawers was in the council's cabinet at the Tuileries before the Revolution. These seats you see here still have their original upholstery, which is exceptional.
Let's have a look at this desk.
Amongst this collection, there is an item that Frédéric Dassas insists on checking on personally. This desk that belonged to Marie Antoinette.
It's quite dusty.
Slight problem, the desk hasn't been open for a year.
And one upside-down curator. There must be a mechanism. I'll give you some light.
Marie Antoinette must have had strong fingers. This is a very, very precious piece of furniture. It was made for Marie Antoinette for an apartment very close by to here, a small apartment she had in the Tuileries that she used when she would come to be entertained in Paris. An entire ensemble of furniture was made with this distinctive crisscross pattern and extremely delicate marquetry in the center. This was typical of her favorite artisan cabinet maker, Jean Ellisner. We have both this very sober and delicate marquetry and the gilded bronze. It's like a miniature monument of sculptural excellence with its extremely fine bas-reliefs.
So she might have sat behind this very desk?
Yes, absolutely. It's a certainty.
In one of the adjacent rooms, antique furniture restorer Caroline T. Pavon is worried about another piece of furniture. This desk made from exotic timbers in 1775.
The dent you see here is surprising because it takes an important impact to create a mark like this one. Here you can see the layering is coming undone, which is typical with this kind of furniture. Here you can see it's cracked, but it isn't moving too much. Here at the back, the joint in the layering has come undone. That's a risk because if something catches onto it as you walk by, it will rip the whole thing off.
In fact, you're a bit like a doctor who comes to examine the objects to check on whether they're healthy.
We like to think we are doctors.
These objects are a bit like your patients.
Absolutely. We're very attached to our objects.
Once her diagnostic is complete, Caroline begins dusting the desk with a surprising contraption.
It's a backpack vacuum cleaner. A vacuum cleaner you carry on your back. It's very practical in these situations. You carry it around and you don't have to drag it behind you.
This meticulous cleaning is vital for these ancient artifacts.
Dust is very hygroscopic, which means it draws in dampness and becomes a catalyst in the alteration of certain varnishes, for instance. When you have humidity and light combined, it alters the material. Secondly, if you have dust and your conservation environment isn't ideal, you have a higher risk of developing fungus.
Dust is a fierce, persevering, and imaginative enemy with inexhaustible troops. So we must not underestimate the importance of dusting.
Not far from there, another restorer, Alice Flo, is reviewing one of the collection's most delicate objects. The royal family purchased this harp from the neoclassical era just before the Revolution. See the dust rising? It's a beautiful object dating back to 1787. The harp is made from 3 different types of timber, with a polychrome layer here, and metal elements for the petals, and gold leaf on all the gilded sculpted parts. Because this object is gilded and polychromatic, I prefer to lift the dust off of it with a brush rather than vacuuming the object directly. You have to be very careful in how you assess the state of conservation before you begin the dusting process. We're taking away some matter from the surface, so it is essential we don't lift any pigments or gold leaf from the object itself. Dust is the worst enemy of these works of art. And is hunted down ruthlessly from the floorboards all the way up to the ceiling. And it seems like dust has taken its quarters on this bronze and crystal chandelier.
I'm cleaning these glass tassels here with a microfiber glove. Very easy to use. The goal with these collections is to maintain them over centuries, so we really have to be extremely precautious and diligent, even if it can appear as overzealous. It's a very different approach to a chandelier you might have at home. The Louvre has such magnificent collections. We're always delighted to have the privilege of being allowed to touch these objects, observe them from closer up and learn to know them a little better.
Marie-Antoinette's desk is one of the last pieces of furniture to be vacuumed.
Don't tell me there's dust in the drawers.
Which brings a certain satisfaction to the curator Frédéric Bassas.
There's a psychological effect. I don't have great eyesight, but even without my glasses, I feel like everything looks cleaner.
After 2 full days of work, it's mission accomplished for the team of experts. The space is dust-free and nothing was damaged or broken. A success well worth a team picture.
PC Richelieu pour les pompiers.
Transmettez les pompiers.
At the Louvre, you will frequently run into firemen. The museum has its own brigade. It is composed of 52 men in charge of ensuring the safety of both the artworks and the museum's visitors 24 hours a day. Several times a week, they do the rounds to check that all emergency exits are in working orders.
Indeed, it is well dissimulated. It looks a lot better than if the water pipe was visible. The pipe system is one of the oldest elements of the building, and it's true that concealing it makes for a better visitor experience. We're lucky to be here, so it would be silly not to take a look as we walk by.
The perimeter that the Louvre Fire Brigade have to keep secure is huge, nearly 16 hectares. They have every key. And know of every secret passageway. This staircase, for instance, leads to the attic of the Pavillon Turgot, a spot they need to keep a close eye on.
If a fire started out in Napoleon III's apartments, it would necessarily spread to here because all of this is made out of wood.
You have to know every corner of the Louvre. It takes a long time. You have to explore, get lost in the Louvre, as we like to say colloquially.
Today, the firemen's routine takes them to the rooftop of the Louvre, one of its weaker spots in terms of fire hazards.
Bien pris pour le PC Richelieu.
They are the only people authorized to access the rooftop and make the most of the views onto iconic Parisian landmarks such as the Eiffel Tower, the Opéra Garnier, or Montmartre's Sacré-Cœur.
When you're up here, you can only pause and admire the view. Many people, including our own families, dream of being up here in our place.
How long have you been working here?
I've been working here for 2 years.
Do you know every hidden corner?
No, you need at least 4 or 5 years to know the Louvre by heart. It is so complex. There are so many passageways, concealed doors, etc. We spend our time walking around the Louvre, not to visit the museum, but to be familiar with all of its hidden corners.
Several times a week, the sergeant must view all of the water outlets on the roof. If a fire broke out, this is where they would come to connect their fire hoses.
What's the issue?
This one is a bit jammed, so if we wanted to connect 2 hoses, this outlet would give us a hard time.
Okay, it's all good.
But fire isn't the only threat looming over the Louvre.
It's okay, it's verified.
In May 2016, the Seine was subject to historical flooding. The water reached a height of 6 meters. Some parts of the Louvre situated close to the river, like the Pavilion of Islamic Arts, were threatened by the rising water levels. To minimize this threat, the department has been equipped with watertight doors, which are regularly checked.
We are situated underneath the street's level, with the river just beyond. We're not even 50 meters away from the Seine. Okay, it's closed.
To carry out their mission 24/7, the Louvre firemen have several bases within the Louvre. One of them is concealed behind this door in the Department of Egyptian Antiquities.
So here is one of our bases. It's a bit like a second home. They are designed for us to spend the night and be ready to intervene fast in case of an emergency. You have to know that at night, everything in the Louvre is closed. We have a living room area, a kitchen. Here is where we sleep. It's quite minimal, with bunk beds, bathroom area over there. We can also keep some personal belongings in the cupboards.
You're quite lucky to sleep at the Louvre.
Yes, not everyone has that luxury.
Another perk for the sergeant and his men is to have access to place close to the public, like the musician's balcony, that offers a spectacular view on Napoleon III's salon.
When Napoleon had guests, he would have the musicians set up here to entertain them. It's magnificent. It's always a treat for the eyes, and we're always happy to come back.
Several times a year, the entire brigade will attend training courses with curators from different departments of the Louvre to learn how to protect the works of art in the event of a disaster.
The Department of Greek, Etruscan and Roman Art is one of the 8 departments here at the Louvre.
Today, Christelle Briorotti is conducting their training session.
These 54 rooms comprise about 6,000 works of art. Some of them are huge and extremely heavy, others are tiny and weigh only a few grams. There's a bit of everything, so that's something you need to take into account when manipulating the artworks.
Let's go.
This Roman statue, for instance, could not be transported in the event of a fire. The firemen would therefore only have a few minutes to secure it without displacing the statue. The first part of the drill consists in covering the statue as quickly as possible.
No friction whatsoever, please.
Lift it more. It's very well.
Let's imagine there's a fire and the room is full of smoke. They are protecting the statue with a fire-resistant tarp so as to limit the amount of smoke coming into contact with the statue. Particles in the air can infiltrate the stone in an irreversible way. They have to watch out for that top part. If they slide the tarp in the wrong way, it will catch on to the sharp piece at the top, so they have to act cautiously. As soon as there's some manhandling of an artwork, then a risk exists. We always remain very careful in these situations.
40 seconds. Not bad. Very well done.
It's an honor to work here, to be so close to the art and have the possibility to handle it and save it in case of an emergency, to help protect the heritage that we have been trying to preserve for so many years.
The second part of the drill requires a more delicate touch.
Let's do 8, 13 and 10.
It consists in moving these 2,500-year-old Etruscan figurines.
You pick it up like so. I like to hold the piece so it won't slip. Then I focus on the base and pick it up like this. The way to go in this case is to leave the base and just take the figurine.
This is a first for Rémi, and he is committed to taking every precaution.
Can we add some padding on top of it? Or should we avoid doing that?
We should avoid doing that, but you could get away with doing that in an urgent situation because the figurines aren't very heavy. For today's training, we chose the less fragile pieces, but in a real emergency situation, we know that they would have to handle all of the objects. So, of course, it makes me a little nervous. I meant mindful.
Today, the Mona Lisa has different company from usual. And for once, she isn't the center of attention, as the team is focusing on her neighbor, the wedding feast of Cana, painted by Veronese. This is the Louvre's biggest painting, measuring 67 square meters. It was brought back from Venice by Napoleon in 1798.
This painting breaks a lot of records. It's the largest here at the Louvre, and I would have to check, but I think it also has the most characters. There's about 150 characters represented. The wedding feast by Cana tells the story of Jesus at the center of the painting and the Virgin Mary being invited to a feast where the hosts have run out of wine. Jesus miraculously transforms water into wine. This painting is like a prequel to the Last Supper. The scene is not a direct depiction of a biblical reference, but is a good illustration of Venice's opulence in the 16th century.
And the maneuvers underway match the scale of the painting. The team has less than 24 hours to make sure it is fully protected before the entire room undergoes renovation.
A work site like this one produces a lot of dust, a lot of very fine and abrasive dust that can damage the varnish or even damage the layers of paint themselves.
The first layer of protection is made from this non-abrasive material.
Can you roll it out, please? Thanks.
But to set it up, they will need the help of a secret mechanism. Curator Martine Despagnat is one of the only people who know how to activate it.
Here we are behind the installation. You can see the back of the painting.
Thanks to this crank,
It's moving forward.
the massive frame holding the painting in place is moved forward by a few centimeters.
Be gentle, the canvas is swaying terribly. We are rolling out the protection horizontally. You can see there is some space on the sides for us to tuck it in and staple it on at the back. It's our job to adapt to the challenges that are specific to each work of art. You have to be careful. You need to have an eye on everything to avoid having any problems, any accidents. But if you're just bringing extra stress to the situation, then this is probably not the job for you.
It's 3 p.m. A race against the clock has started for the team, as the room must be open to the public by the following morning. Just before midnight, the last panel is put into place, and the room will be reopened on schedule.
I'll be really relieved when we take all of that paneling and wrapping off. We will be happy to see the painting again.
The next day, the Louvre has reopened its doors. The crowd of visitors has returned, with the intent of spending some one-on-one time with the museum's masterpieces. A privilege not everyone gets to enjoy. This Chinese fine art student is about to count himself among the lucky ones. 28-year-old Jia Zhong has set himself the challenge of copying one of his favorite paintings in the museum.
Hi.
Hello.
Did you have any trouble getting in?
Yes.
Come in. You can sit down.
But to do so, he will have to comply with the strict rules of the copyist bureau.
So this is your big day. Do you feel ready?
Yes.
The bureau manager, Isabelle Vieilleville, checks his ID and his art supplies.
You've only brought the necessary supplies for today, right? No large quantities of solvents? Let's check. This box can stay on your easel. I'm also going to look at your preliminary sketch.
Here it is.
She finally assesses whether he has the artistic skills to reproduce this autoportrait by Dürer. You have to earn your right to be a copyist at the Louvre.
You can't just come here and sit in front of an original to copy it. If you don't already have good drawing skills and if you don't master ancient oil painting techniques. I'll lead the way, follow me.
Since the creation of the museum in 1793, there has been a long tradition of copying at the Louvre. Isabelle leads Jia through the Médicis gallery, where Rubens' masterpieces are exposed. Over to the painting he is about to reproduce.
You can set up here in front of the original.
And Isabelle has some more instructions.
Remember, you must be facing this way. You can't set up this way because of that other painting. Now I'm going to explain the 1 meter rule. You're not allowed to come any closer than this. 1, 2, 3 floorboards. This is as close as you can get. And you have to be facing that way because if your easel toppled forward this way, it would damage this painting that doesn't have any glass protecting it. Have a good session.
Jia moment of grace has finally arrived. For the first time, he is able to have a one-on-one dialogue with the famous Portrait of the Artist Holding a Thistle, painting by the German artist in 1493 at the age of only 22.
I discovered Dürer's work when I was 17. I like his sketches and his oil paintings. When I arrived in France, I visited the Louvre for the first time, and when I saw his paintings, I instantly wanted to copy it. Copying the work of the great masters is a compulsory step for all painters, both in the Western world and in China. It's very important.
Jia isn't the only copyist present at the museum. There is also Brigitte, a Parisian artist who has chosen to copy the painting Young Woman with a Carnation by the Flemish artist Jacob van Utrecht.
I instantly fell in love when I walked past this painting. I find it extraordinary. It isn't that well known. The first thing to catch my attention was her dress, her very curious, strange green and white dress. She looks like a character from Alice in Wonderland.
And this is Thibault, a fine art student with a passion for the painter Poussin.
When you are copying, the copying itself isn't what makes you improve. It forces you to really look at the painting for a long time. That's the most important thing in painting.
And lastly, Anne-Françoise, who is bringing the finishing touches to her copy of Joseph the Carpenter by Georges de la Tour, on which she has been working on for 3 months straight.
Hello, Anne-Françoise.
Hello, Isabelle.
How are you?
I'm well.
Is it done?
Yes, it's finished.
It's ready to leave the museum?
Yep.
Well done. It's really beautiful.
Thanks.
It must have been difficult in such a small format.
Well, that was the challenge. especially in rendering the child's face. It's something I worked on at the end of the process. I just followed my training and painted it step by step. I've worked on the face for the past fortnight to properly render the light emanating from the child's face.
How does it feel to finish a copy?
I'm both a bit sad and happy at the same time.
Are you happy with your work?
Yes. I'm still completely inside my work, inside the painting's atmosphere.
And now you're saying goodbye.
More like a child returning home. And there is also a strict set of rules for when a copy leaves the museum.
I'll follow your lead.
To avoid any suspicion of theft, Isabelle must walk Anne-Françoise all the way to the exit.
Hi, I'm leaving with a copy. Bye.
There you go. It's the end. That's that.
We're gonna go this way. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye. The copy will be hung in Anne-Françoise's living room and will never again be allowed through the doors of the Louvre. Facing the pyramid, the emblematic Arc de Carrousel has become a preoccupation for the curators. It was built to celebrate the glories of Napoleon I.
There are a variety of materials here that are rare at the Louvre and that you won't find on any other facade. Pink marble, white marble, red marble. It includes sculptures made from quarried stone, marble bas-reliefs. To create such a delicate decorative monument requires clockwork precision.
But looks can be deceiving. Over time, the colors of the marble columns have faded. The bas-reliefs are corroded. And the Grognard statues have become mere shadows of their past selves.
The statues have been exposed to the rain, to the cold, and to the sun for over 200 years. You'll notice that their facial traits have become ghostly, and that a lot of details from the uniforms have disappeared. If we don't do anything, the statues will become skeletons within 10 years' time. Eventually, they will just turn to dust. Look at the details in the sculptures between the two columns. You can no longer distinguish any of the foliage. The head has fallen off this statue here. If we let this go on, the arc will become a romantic ruin.
Urgent action is required. In preparation of the work to come, the Louvre has made the most of the cutting-edge technology at its disposal. Digital photogrammetry. Thousands of photos of the monument were taken in order to create an incredibly precise 3D image of the arc. An essential tool for the architects working on the project.
If we send someone up there and in the cell, they wouldn't have a better view than what we can see just by zooming in on the details we're interested in.
It means that we don't have to use complicated ways to access the top parts of the monument in this location that is always crowded with visitors. It allows us to put together a sort of virtual visit of the monument. This way we can send it out to various companies, allowing them to have a more hands-on approach to the project.
The main worry of the architects is situated on the monument's rooftop. They reach it by using the staircase that remains closed to the public.
Watch your head.
It can only be accessed if escorted by the Louvre Fire Brigade. Here is the monument's masterpiece, the Chariot of Peace. It was modeled on St. Mark's horses in Venice and made in 1827. He has also suffered from the consequences of time.
These statues are made of gold and lead. You can see the lead underneath the gold, but lead is quite a soft metal, so it needs a metallic structure to support it. After a while, the metallic structure begins to rust and creates the cracks you can see here. And here we have the same problem with the bronze chariot. It has a metal framework on the inside, and you can see that the horse's leg acts as a funnel, and the water finds its way in. You can see that developing rust is lifting the bronze.
Partly thanks to public funding, this monument will soon undergo restoration to preserve one of the most splendid perspectives in Paris.
It's an infinite axis following the direction of the Seine towards Rouen, Le Havre, and ultimately America. This gives the Arc the role of a front door to the Louvre. During the 20th century, we built the pyramid directly opposite the Arc as a way of asserting that people were now coming from all over the world to visit the Louvre, and no longer just from Paris.
Beyond the Carrousel, the Tuileries Gardens begin to unfold. This 22-hectare park is part of the Louvre's grounds. This French-style garden was designed by Le Nôtre and plays a vital role for the quality of the air in Paris. But it's also an open-air museum with close to 200 statues on display. Like this statue, Cain after killing his brother Abel, which is one of the most photographed sculptures in the garden. Or these famous nudes by Aristide Maillol. And these statues are also subjected to all sorts of wear and tear. Today, this statue of a woman with generous curves is up for special care. This imposing standing woman, sculpted by Gaston Lachaise in 1932, is actually a fantasized vision of the artist's wife.
In fact, she was only 1.6 meters and weighed 50 kilos. But he turned her into a kind of eternal goddess, a representation of the female ideal, made by exaggerating her womanly features. She has a very thin waist, heavy breasts, and a powerful backside. I like the sculpture a lot because it is so aesthetically smooth. That's why we need to give it a good wash. When it's clean, you can really appreciate the very smooth surface of the bronze with its lovely patina. She's going to look great once we're done with her.
To give this statue back its original sheen, restorers Sarah and Laura have their plate full as the sculpture has suffered multiple attacks.
The paths running through the park are covered in gravel, which creates a lot of dust. The wind then blows the dust onto the sculptures. Air pollution is also a factor in the deterioration of these works of art. And there is also the damage due to animal activity. These are all problems you won't find inside a museum, where obviously the works of art are better protected.
The restorers have a wide range of implements at their disposal, like this tiny electric brush. Or this scraping tool made out of bone.
It's a rather supple material that still has a certain hardness to it. When restoring metals, we try to clean the surface without altering the patina. For metals, it's really something we try to do.
Little by little, the statue loses its dusty veil to reveal its beautiful bronze color. Here, we've managed to restore a rather homogeneous and shiny patina.
You can see these marks left by the artist's tools. There are details like this that appear and that weren't visible beforehand.
After 3 hours of tireless scrubbing,
Yes, mission accomplished. We're nearly done. We just have to finish cleaning the base. It's true that she looks perfect in the sunlight, nice and shiny. I'm really happy with that.
She literally has a new sheen to her, a newfound beauty. It's a beautiful thing every time we can restore a bit of youth to a work of art.
at the Tuileries Gardens, the flower beds are landscaped twice a year, in spring and during autumn, like today.
You need to score the soil, then trace.
For the new head gardener, Floriane Guillère, this is one of the most important times of the year.
Let's go.
She only has a few days to plant 20,000 biannual flowers, like these pansies. And 30,000 bulbs that will flower at springtime.
Here we are mixing together different varieties of bulbs. We have all sorts of types and colors, and to make sure the result is random, we mix them all together in a crate. That way, when we plant them, we have no way of knowing where different colors will appear. In the end, it will produce homogeneous, multicolored flower beds. We designed the flower beds in relation to the exhibitions at the Louvre. This arrangement will be an echo to the 30th anniversary of the pyramid. It will have something to do with the pyramid. Here you have a photograph of the pyramid that we used as inspiration to design the specific era. From this photo, we drafted a first sketch determining the dominant colors. Here you can see some blue turning to black and some warm colors, yellow and orange. From this, we were able to put together a second sketch over this photography of the era. Here you can see that the bottom part will be planted with blue flowers, and the bulb flowers higher up will be yellow and orange. We always do our best to make it clear to visitors that the Tuileries Gardens are a part of the grounds of the Louvre.
Floriane completed her training at the Versailles Gardens and took up her position at the Tuileries a year ago. She has developed a passion for the history of this garden created in 1564 by Catherine de Médicis.
They used to make roof tiles here, tuiles in French, which gave it its name, Tuileries. Catherine de Médicis had the idea to create a palace outside of the Paris boundaries. She had the Tuileries Palace built along with an Italian-style garden. In 1664, André Le Nôtre restored the garden in a French style, with its fantastic perspectives, all the way to the Champs-Élysées. I feel really lucky, and it brings me a lot of joy to be working in this historical garden. It's quite exceptional to be given the opportunity to carry on with work that began centuries ago. I'm tremendously lucky.
Our day at the Louvre is coming to a close. Tomorrow, thousands of visitors will enter through its doors to admire the treasures of France's cultural and artistic heritage, without imagining what amazing work is taking place behind the scenes at the Louvre Museum.